Entonces trabajamos eso, hablamos eso y que no tenemos nada que perder en este torneo. Estamos acá, luchamos todo el año por estar acá y que jugáramos nuestros juegos.
Difícil de manejar para estos dos jugadores que ni siquiera le quedan smoke por parte de Shooter. Lo intentaba una vez más Naxxes, pero termina siendo un error por ahora.
Okay.
Bueno, consigue una baja. En la segunda, la tercera también. Solamente queda Seven. ¡Dos en contra de cero!
Eles são um bom time, sim, mas acho que a gente conseguir detê-los.
But I think we're gonna be able to use this loss as like a step stool, I guess, and we're gonna be a lot better after this loss just by reviewing it and just going over the little things we missed.
Every team here is here for a reason, right? They're all good, and you can't doubt anyone or think of anyone as less.
The action continues in day 3 of VALORANT Ascension, and it is the action that continues going and teams that we don't know how they're going to end up in the group stage. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dryad. I'm going to be your host for today, and today I have a very special analyst desk. I'm joined by Roy and Starrybun. So, guys, how are you feeling for today? Starry, it's nice to see you again. I always love working with you. It's the first time that I get to work with you for Ascension, so how are you feeling? How do you see the teams right now?
I'm feeling good, and honestly, I'm really excited for the matches. Like, all the teams look really good. Like, I was watching the matches yesterday, and you can't really tell like who's just gonna like take it away, you know? Like, there's no like really good front runner right now who's like really just beating everyone. It's like everyone is like beating each other. Like, it's just equal grounds right now for me personally.
It really is, especially compared to last year when we had a clear favorite and then everybody else, they just could not keep up. But for this one, Roy, I want to ask you too, because we've been able to follow the Challengers season for NA specifically. Now that we're getting the chance to look at all the other teams, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think coming into this tournament, I had this idea that like NA was like, oh, we're probably the stronger region because we know we have better practice. We get to practice against the VCT teams. You know what I mean? There's just a higher level of like prep and practice that is available in North America. But after watching the matches, I can honestly back up the fact that it really is nothing is free. There's nothing that is free on this table. Everyone is hungry. There's a lot of talent in here. There's people that we've never heard of that are just absolutely monsters in their regions that are just really displaying themselves to the best ability.
And because it's the group stage, I know it's always the chat asking, are they eliminated? Are they out? No, nobody's eliminated just yet. Calm down. Let's relax. It's fine. They're fine. They just need to get enough wins to make it to the top 4, and then they'll go into the playoffs. So they have the chances. Let's take a look at the current standings, though, to see how that's playing out right now. Because a lot of the teams that didn't get the best results on day 1, they were able to get the wins yesterday. Specifically for yesterday, it was a really good day for Latin America. Reta, they got their win, and also the same way for All Knights. So, Roy, is this kind of what we expected? I feel like for All Knights, the first match compared to the second, they're one of the favorites for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely monsters in this server. All Knights has been so impressive. The way they play, the way they set up their duelist. I mean, his performance, the level of consistency has been awesome. But I think a really good thing to note as well is that not all the teams have played the same amount of matches. TSM will be playing their 3rd match right here, but 2 games going into their 2nd. So the standings aren't that indicative of anything until the end of today. I think we'll see a much more updated standings going into the 4th day.
I think there's something else that I really want to point out, and it's Galoris. They had such, like, it looks on the standings that they're having like a cold start to this tournament. They're 0-2, but if you like actually look at the maps that they played, like 3 out of the 5 maps that they played so far have been just like really, really close matches. Like 3 out of the 5 games going into overtime, and I feel like for them it just really comes down to like this little tiny mistakes that they're making that just cost them the game. But like, even though it looks like they're having a cold start, it's definitely like doesn't really feel that way when you watch their actual matches.
Yeah, but honestly, we did see the frustration from them yesterday, especially when things were not really working out towards the end. So that's something that they're going to have to work on. But speaking about today and the matches that we're going to have today, let's take a look about how those are going to play out. It's going to be TSM going against 2G and then Reta going against M80. Yesterday, as Roy was saying, some of the teams have a couple days to just 1 day to rest and then come back. So yesterday, 2G and M80 were resting. And now, Sari, they're coming back and they're ready for these matches to continue getting the wins.
Yeah, I think it's really rough that TSM hasn't had any days off so far, because I feel like being able to study your opponent makes such a big difference in these matches, especially when like the stakes are so high. So hopefully they're gonna be able to pick it up, because 2GE has been able to like have a day off and actually study TSM. So I'm really interested in seeing like what they bring to the table today.
Which is something that is so important, Roy.
For sure.
We've heard the players talk about and the teams talk about how much it's, it's not only preparing for yourself, playing for yourself, and making sure that you're bringing the best compositions for your team, making sure that the mental is in the right place, but also really getting to know what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, I mean, to go back one more sentence here, the prep for coaches must be kind of challenging in these kind of tournaments, because your team is making mistakes, but the enemy team is also a really strong opponent. So you have to like balance like fixing our own gameplay versus like, studying and prepping for the opponent. So having a day off like 2Game has had to kind of prep both of these things and balance these two aspects is probably going to help them a lot going into this matchup. But for TSM, I mean, on the other hand, they're warm. They've played the matches. They're shedding the stress with every single match. They're getting more and more comfy on that stage. So, I mean, it kind of is an experience buff.
You have the two different sides of the same coin about if the day off is good for you, or maybe you're too cold, and then on the other side you have a TSM that's playing back to back, and then that can also help out to their advantage. But to know exactly how the teams are feeling, how the players are feeling, we have a video, so let's check it out.
It definitely feels rough losing in that way, because it kind of just came down to us forgetting the fundamentals and just the basics of the game. But I think we're going to be able to use this loss as like a step stool, I guess, and we're going to be a lot better after this loss just by reviewing it and just going over the little things we missed. And after we don't miss those little things, I think we're going to be good. 2Gs, they look good. They looked really good against Retta. Obviously, they just beat the people we lost to, but I think the Spike guy, the duelist, he is insane. So I think we're just going to have to be ready for fast plays, aggressive style, and we're just going to have to be ready for how they play. I think they're good, obviously. They have their own style of playing. They're really aggressive. I'm also kind of that way. But I think I can play more duelist, and I think I can play more duelist better. I think I have more variety of the characters I play.
Eu acho que foi muita ansiedade no começo. Tipo, no começo a gente não tava conseguindo muito entrar no jogo, mas depois a gente tava conseguindo. E eu acho que essa ansiedade foi abaixando e a gente foi conseguindo fazer o nosso jogo. A gente se sente muito mais confiante que antes, que a gente nunca tinha ganhado uma LAN no Brasil. Agora, chegando no México, a gente já ganhou a primeira, acho que a gente tá muito mais confiante que antes. Eles são um bom time, sim, mas acho que a gente conseguir detê-los.
Some really interesting points that the players are talking about, one being the fundamentals, going back to the fundamentals, and the other one being the anxiety always playing a part into these big matches, into these important matches. A lot of the players that we're going to be seeing, that we continue to see on the stage, this is the first time, Roy, that they're getting some LAN experience, some big LAN experience, and you see the way that it is playing out.
Yeah, I just want to point out the fact that he said they've never won a LAN in Brazil. But again, I want to remind everybody that 2Game is Brazil's #2 seed. And they've shown up. Their first match was such an awesome match to watch. They performed extremely well. But in touching on TSM here, I think TSM is the kind of team where, like, yeah, they look shaky. They have not been playing to their absolute limit. But you can't make the mistake of underestimating them. I think enough people have done that, and they've been absolutely wrong. And to sleep on this team is something that it's a mistake that I definitely do not want to make.
TSM, the team that we didn't really know where to put towards the beginning of the year, and now they're fighting for their chance in Ascension, for the chance to be in Tier 1 and in Steri. How do you see this team? A team that, throughout the year, they did not look like the #1, like the #2 in a lot of times, but right now they're trying to prove themselves, and they've had some of those ups and downs to try to get to that best and higher instance.
Yeah, I think that you can really see the hunger for them, like how badly they just like really want to win. And like even yesterday's loss, like you can see them say, even like Sim in the video said that, like, for them it was like the lack of fundamentals, and I think for them they felt like it was an off day and they're really just gonna try to like pick it up today. But yeah, I think TSM like has been on the come up. Like they weren't looking so good, but now like they've really gotten their act together and they've been like really doing well.
We're gonna see how that is gonna play out, especially because we look at TSM. You guys touch on it a couple times now, but it's gonna be a main topic of conversation. It's something that TSM has to know as well. They've played all of these matches back to back since day one, since that very long day one to yesterday to now playing today against 2G. And Roy, they need to get this win.
Yeah, they really do. There's absolutely no guarantee with the current standings that anyone's going to be qualifying, right? Like we have no clear favorite in this tournament. There's just not enough data. And I think this match right here for TSM will dictate a lot because their next two matches are against All Knights and M80, if I'm not mistaken. And those are two very fierce opponents right now that are just absolutely blowing their matches. So I think a win right here for TSM would be not only good for their mental, but definitely good to solidify themselves going into playoffs.
And it's something that I really like about this desk is that you two have some experience with different teams. So Steri, I want to ask you, when it comes to TSM and when it comes to a tournament like this one for them, for example, then it's so big, and then just yesterday you had a loss, but you need to keep going, and you know you need to get those wins. How do you think that the team is able to mentally reset and also connecting to something that Proto talked about in social media?
I think it's really good for them to kind of realize, like, hey, yesterday maybe was just like a bad day for us, and like realizing their mistakes, like it's just a fundamentals thing. Like we just need to like get it down, maybe like just like recollect. I think it's good for teams to like take a loss sometimes because it really pushes you where you're like, oh my gosh, like I really, really want to win, and it kind of like builds up that fire in you to like play better.
Which you need for today. Is the third match, and they only have 2 more matches in the group stage to see if they're able to make it. And Roy, this is what we talked about. This is a Proto's tweet about the feelings about losing against Red Hat yesterday. It was a 1-2. It was close. It had some good instances, but it was not enough for TSM.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely not enough. And you know, talking about losses and talking about that, like, yeah, they can blame fundamentals, but at the end of the day, they each have to step up individually, right? They got absolutely destroyed on the openers. Every single player did. Almost none of them have went positive, if I'm not mistaken. I think none of them went positive at all, actually. So there's a lot more than just team play things that are breaking down for TSM. I think individually they're not playing up to their own standards. And you know, there's one thing that I did bring up on day one, well, with TSM specifically, is like the 7 factor, right? Like that 7 is not only their initiator, but he's also one of their star players. And whenever he's not having a good performance, or at least like an average performance, it really feels like TSM's matches are almost 10 times harder.
We were talking about it yesterday on the desk. 7 on get call on bind. It's like, it's always good. You always have that to rely on. He's always insane. But another player that is also insane is Sim. And Sim has been a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes he'll have a little bit inconsistent moments. But today, what we want to see for TSM, what NA fans want to see from TSM today is that consistency for Sim. We see a slight difference between that first match that they had against Galores compared to yesterday going against Red Asteri.
I feel like sometimes it's like hard for duelists, especially when your whole team is having an off day. Maybe like the setups aren't like being properly set up, like you're not getting your util properly, like flashes aren't coming in when they should be. There's a lot of miscommunication. So a lot of that could play into a factor of why he wasn't performing like he usually did yesterday. But hopefully he'll be able to like pick it up today, and everyone will be able to like step up. Like Roy mentioned, like 7 plays a big factor, and when you're on that initiator, having like good util timings is very important.
Yep, and to kind of add on top of that as well, is TSM has a sort of team structure where Sim takes a lot of the team's first engagements. So a lot of his success is the team's success. But on the other hand as well, there are a lot of closers on the TSM roster. GMD, Proto, these are all players that are incredibly experienced in the clutch. They're very consistent in the clutch. And it's this sort of dynamic between like their ability to like constantly pressure in the early round as well as close out rounds towards the end that kind of gives TSM their charm.
Which is what you want to see for teams. You want to see a team that is complete in the duelist role, that guy that is going in, getting those kills, everybody else supporting him, and everybody else also being able to save the rounds when things get a little difficult. This is what we've seen for TSM. When TSM is looking great, you see all of those parts connecting and working together. But now, let's talk about the other side, because 2G is a team that, honestly, we didn't really know much about towards the beginning, before Ascension, for people that were not following Challengers in Brazil, but we're still getting to know them. And honestly, they have amazing pieces that have surprises. The duelists here are amazing. The way that they're also connecting together, Sari, is really good. So I think it's a team that you cannot underestimate, even if they're going against, well, the favorite that we have here in this broadcast, at least that being TSM.
Yeah, 2GE is honestly looking like a really, really strong team. And I love how you mentioned the duelists, because I like that they have like two duelist players who could cover every duelist and play it to perfection. Like, they have such really good agent diversity where they can literally play like Yoru on one map and like have Raze on another and not be able to worry about like, oh, what comps we should run.
Yeah, and to kind of touch on that as well is they have two duelists that are just as good as Sim. They have two Sims on their team, and they can both play incredibly versatile amount of roles that kind of opens up their compositions and their playstyles so however they want. But the other thing that I want to talk about with 2G as well is that not only are they like, I mean, arguably they are the most inexperienced team in this tournament, but they look the most confident. They're not shaky at all. All their decisions are very fluid. The way they challenge, the way they take their fights, the way they just like their composure, their micro is just so very much composed, which is insane for an underdog team that has so little experience like them.
The second seeds have really surprised us, especially, and once again, comparing it to last year when you were seeing an All Knights that look insane, you're seeing a 2G that's looking insane, you're seeing a TSM that is also having and looking insane, but having some crucial moments that allow them to look like that, and that is the TSM that we want to see today, but it's also the 2G that we want to see today to see how that is going to be playing out. As we mentioned, 2G, they only play on that day one. They had a day to rest just yesterday, which we all know is not really resting, is more than practicing and preparing for what was going to be today, and we see how that ended up playing out. It was very dominant Roy against Reda.
Yeah, and the one thing that we should definitely talk about is the fact that not only did they dominate Reda, but Reda is the team that beat TSM, and if Valorant logic or math applies here, if one team beats this team and this team beats that team, then this team is no, just kidding, but and it's going to be a very close game. But I think the most interesting thing for me is like the clashes of duelists here, because Spike is so flashy on the Neon, and while Sim's Neon is really good, I would still give that slight edge to Spike's Neon. That is very well developed. His mechanics are insane on that agent, and he definitely plays it to one of the highest levels in all of the Americas.
And I know what we want to talk about and what everybody has been talking about, and that is the duelist. So let's dive into Spike first, because this guy, and it's also a pattern that we've seen with South America. They're playing a lot of the Neons, but they have amazing Neon players, and Spike, he's just one of them.
Yeah, I mean, not only is this guy crazy on the Neon, but he's putting up these numbers on Gecko as well.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that he's able to be so consistent on, like, different agents is actually, like, crazy. And be able to, like, switch up the playstyles is very, very, like, impressive as well. And not to mention, like, he still had, like, the most first kills, if not matched with Silence, even on the Gecko.
It's... nobody else is doing it like this team. I feel like they're in the future in a way, like they have everything organized and clear on who's going to play each duelist, and if you're not playing duelist, then you're playing this, and that's another point of conversation, right? When we look at the other side, when you look at Silence, but he's doing a little bit of the same, right? He's doing the Raze, but he's also playing the Cypher, as we saw on that first match.
Can I just give you guys a really fun statistic? On the first opening game versus Reda, it was a bind, by the way. Spike was playing Gecko. He went 21-6, 4-1 on the openers. Silence went 18-9. Not that crazy, still pretty impressive, but he's 4-0 on the openers. These guys are literally opening up rounds, whether they're on the support role, whether they're on the duelist role. They are having an immense, insane amount of success on these, like both of the agents, both of the playstyles, and it's just incredible to see a team have this level of diversity and this level of like consistency.
Which, and now when we look at Silence, when we look at Spike as well, and you look at the rest of the team and the way that they're connected, it's just insane. It's honestly insane to look at, and that is what gets us so excited about this Ascension and even about this match. We talked about how important it is for these teams to continue getting this win. This would be the second win for 2G, but it would also be the second win for TSM, trying to stay positive because you don't know how the other teams are going to play out, and you don't really want to depend on anybody's results towards the end to make it to playoffs, right? So let's take a look at the maps. Let's see where we're going to be headed for today, because it can also matter a lot into who's going to take that win at the end, who's going to end up positive today. And Sari, give me your thoughts as we see this play out.
Okay. So I actually had my own map predictions on where I thought it was going to go. And honestly, I did predict the Lotus ban coming from TSM. And I did predict that they would end up playing Sunset, Icebox. But Abyss, I didn't think would come up. But I did predict that Sunset or Icebox would be played. So I'm glad to see like it kind of went the way I thought it would.
Okay.
What is shocking me is TSM picking Sunset after seeing 2G play it. I mean, the Neon Breach combo that they were running on that map was insane. So the fact that TSM is confident enough to pick Sunset against them means that they're kind of prepped for this. And I'm hoping they are, because they're about to face a very strong opponent and arguably Spike's best agent.
I'm really interested not only in the first map. I love seeing Sunset because you really see how teams are coordinated and playing together for the specific compositions. But I'm interested in Icebox because we had our questions about how the Icebox last match was going to play out for TSM. It didn't really work as much. We were hyping up so much about the Reyna, Sim on the Reyna. What is he going to be able to do? And then he was limited by those options of how is he going to get out of fights? How is he going to get out of uncomfortable positions? I mean, the dismiss sometimes is just not enough to do that compared to that Jet that we're used to seeing more. So I feel like this could go either way, Roy. I don't know. I know we had predictions before, but the more that this Ascension plays out, the more I'm like, wait, let me think about this again.
Okay, wait. On all the Talent's defenses here, we made our predictions before we saw all these teams play each other. So it's a little tough. But now that I've seen all these teams play, and I've seen the Gecko, and I've seen all these sort of players like play out on an international level, I think my opinion has slightly shifted. But that being said, it has been a while since 2G has shown their Icebox, so we're not really sure whether they're still running their double initiator compositions or not. So I think we're in for quite a bit of a surprise on some of these maps.
Well, now we get to see the teams walking out on stage. It is the second day for 2Game to walk onto the stage to play in front of the audience for Mexico. I feel like we haven't really shown as much, but there's definitely there's an audience there supporting a couple of those teams from Brazil, from NA, and obviously from Latin America, and for TSM too. So Sari, as you see the teams walking out right now, and one of the points that the players touch on was the anxiety and playing on these matches. When you're walking and you see this kind of moment, what do you think are the feelings, the expectations as well, to make sure that everything goes according to plan and the nerves don't take over?
I think it's important for them to really get inside their own heads and kind of create like a safe space for themselves. Like, okay, like pretend that you're even just playing on your home setup, because I think playing on a LAN setting, especially when there's an audience, especially when it's like your first time, it can be really nerve-wracking, and I think those nerves can make you shaky, kind of affect your decision making. So I think it's really important for everyone to be on the same page and be like, hey guys, let's all just play like we usually are. We're really good. We got this, and be able to like support each other too.
Also, I'm sorry. Can I just point out something real quick? TSM did a huddle. I think on their opening day, it was just fist bumps because we were laughing about it on the desk where they're not even huddling. They're not even like hugging each other. But this time, it looks like TSM is locked in. I think they know what's at stake, and I think they're on the same page now. Team huddles equals wins.
Yeah, Team Huddle, they're ready. They're ready to get that win. That's exactly what it means. We're going to see if it plays out that way, though, but I'm very excited to see this map of Sunset first. In a way, it feels like for both of those teams, they're trying to give some heavy momentum towards the beginning. So let's jump into the Blacklight Agent Select. Let's find out what agents these teams are going to be playing, if there's going to be anything different as we've seen before or not. And right away, we get to see that Sim and Spike going against each other on the Neon Roy.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely. I mean, we called it. Nothing really has changed much since their last showing. But again, this is going to be a very interesting matchup between these two. And I do want to say that a Proto, I'm going to listen. This is going to sound crazy, okay? Hear me out. I'm predicting a Proto is going to have an insane performance because he's brought out the infamous mustache. It's back. He brought back the mustache. He shaved the beard. He's only rocking the stash now. That has to be at least plus 20 kills in this series.
You're mentioning the huddle. You're mentioning
the intangibles.
Well, we're going to find out if that's actually a buff or what ends up playing out with the Proto and the rest of TSM. Let's find out who gets the win on Sunset with your casters is Uber and Wyatt.
That's right, folks. Dawn of the third day for TSM. No breaks for them at Ascension so far, and they've got to turn up against this two-game team, who felt pretty comfortable after a little bit of a break, and this is TSM looking a bit haggard. And I've got bad news for Roy, Wyatt. Proto had the moustache yesterday.
And it
TSM
didn't
played yesterday.
Help.
I don't necessarily think it made a huge difference there, because that's what's got us a little bit low on TSM, right? That performance against Reta left a lot to be desired.
Definitely. Day one as well against Galorus. Listen, it was a good win. Galorus were playing pretty well, but it was still shaky, frankly, from both teams. Neither felt consistent throughout that 3-map series. So we're looking for TSM to bounce back here. And on the opposite side, 2Game, just shocking opening. It was the first game of the event on day one. Destroyed Reta. I mean, Spike was just disrespecting them. The Neon on Sunset, which TSM have picked into them. Pretty bold from TSM. They haven't won this map the last 2 times they played it. They lost to M80, they lost to MXS as well. And now they're playing it against a team that have already proven in this tournament to be rock solid. So they're going to need to step up today.
And had their bind taken away as well. Here's the shock dart to clear the trip. As 2G moves straight into the side, it's going to be Spikes at the front, and the Proto's not going to be ready for this. Frenzy go brr. Sim tries to set up here, play out from market. Doesn't find any purchase, and it's going to be Poise and Seven who have to make their way in from Boba.
A little bit of utility to work with. Nice Dizzy Flash combo. Not able to get in, though. That cage just
thrown up.
Stymieing the effort.
Aftershock there was used. Doesn't really bother 2G over much. Going to be a double swing here, but Seven is felled instantly. And, well, 2G pick it up where they left off, folks. They started with a real aggressive campaign here at Ascension, and that's exactly how this first round has looked.
Yeah, just closing that out by the numbers at the end. Simple crossfire setup, but very, very effective. Nothing for Poison 7 to be done. Tough start for the TSM side. 2 game already. I mean, they're hyped up. They were definitely going off in that first game against Reyna. They were stood up talking a lot of trash. They're definitely feeling good. I mean, remember, this is the 2nd seed from Brazil, already besting the 1st seed from LATAM. Now trying to collect a pelt from the NA side.
Bolt 9 there, I think, forced a Proto off a pretty close line playing towards B lobby, so this will be 2G getting into B for free, essentially. Bit of a hedge for TSM as they set mostly up towards A, and Silence has an opportunity there to draw blood. It will be traded out, though, and this allows TSM into mid proper to encircle, and actually 3 plays looking for the wrap instantly.
Yeah, Silence happy to take that fight. He is the player with the Ghost, just able to go 1 for 1, and it's just no problem with that. I do like the TSM are trying to get back in, fighting through B main, though. Paranoia, and here comes Sim. Shot is whipped. Prize capitalizing. Zap picks up the angle as well.
Sim ducked off that angle. Pricey was ready for 2, potentially happy to spray them down if it came to it. Now it's going to be up to Gimon, who gets himself a gun for his troubles, but that's about all he's going to be walking out of this round with. Again, it's that same level of pace from 2G. They break through B main. The trap wires just get cleared out instantly. Once they've got control, it's lights out.
And as the series goes on, maybe we'll get a feel through the gameplay for perhaps some fatigue sitting in for TSM. Before we got into this, you mentioned this is day 3 in a row that they have been playing. 2G had yesterday off, so they've been able to watch both of these TSM games, just still kind of relish in that first dominant victory they had, come in today feeling good, 1-0 in the group stage. And TSM really need this win, sitting at 1-1.
Remember that day, that first best of 3 was about 4 hours long, Wyatt. It was an absolute slugfest against Galores. You know, you need to recover from that kind of game, and they were trotted out the very next day to play yet another best of 3 that went to all 3 maps. TSM at 1-1 here. Be one of the first teams to get to play 3 games, so we can really see how they start to shape up. They get no breaks until then. Spike wants to encroach.
Contact there. Paranoia ready for G&D, and the stun as well. Counter Paranoia will shut that attempt down, though, from TSM to get aggressive and find an early pick on defense. They've retained the elbow control, though, a part of the map where the Neon is incredibly dominant. That relay bolt can just stun pretty much anyone in that corridor.
For a moment, it looked like they might be shifting into a crossfire setup, but didn't actually pulled out. The noise cut here from 2G. Could have caught Gimon off guard, but he's ready to spray 2 down. Now it's just a 3-man squad left for 2G, and we, of course, have Sim trending back towards Link now, who's expecting a push-up from this undermanned squad of 2G, but they instead are forging into elbow.
Yeah, they've just fully cut noise. Silence, ability to take a duel, had a chance to win it, even things up, but Sim with a crucial pick to retain that man advantage, further the man advantage now by 2.
30
LC
seconds
wants
left.
to go prodding forward, wants to make a play happen. Needs to get a pick before trying to tap the spike, but the timing is just off.
A.
Zap now, 1v4. Again, weaker weapons that 2G walked into this round with. A little bit hard to win some of those upfront duels. And they don't expect, I think, Gimon to double back in elbow there and actually take the fight a second time.
Yeah, off that noise cut, Gimon just wanted to go exploring a little bit, see if they had actually fallen back, and if he did, press up, that would have given the ability for his teammates to rotate, back towards mid, towards B. had that been the plan from 2G to rotate off and go hit the other site, but it wasn't. He was just strong with the superior weaponry, collecting 2 there. A good open for the man who's often the hero of the TSM squad, but now we have the full buy for 2 game.
Yeah, this time fault line into B, but they've actually syncopated the push of 2G. A little slower this time. They've got presence in market for TSM. Sim is waiting there. Attempt to ping off the camera there for a proto. But Spikes has still been able to get forward. It's a very deep trap wire here for TSM. Expecting 2G to try and overwhelm them, and Spikes walks into it, but he's sat on the corner. Will be an aftershock to try and clear him out. He's able to slide away, but not without being riddled with bullets by Poise. Huge first pick here for TSM. Already, they're starting to get a bit of a feel for 2G's tendencies, the way they want to push up, the pace they try and bring. And they've harnessed it beautifully. Silence now left in that 1 versus 4 as TSM have refused to give up too much ground on B.
I like that setup from a Proto a lot. Just playing with the trips deep. Listen, you're not going to be able to stop this 2G comp from getting through the choke and into the site. If you have shock darts, sorry, if you have trip wires close, the shock darts from Prize are going to break them after shock. Like, it's so easy. The Neon getting in deep with the wall up, right? But having those trips backside allows them to get in a bit more easily, retain control backside for flooding. And in that case, it just caught Spike, and a big error from 2G not being able to break that trip in time. Just had him lit up for so long. And that's going to result in the round loss, result in their economy getting cracked down pretty badly. They've got a few sheriffs, bought what they can, ensuring they can have the full for the next.
2G really carrying the torch here for the LATAM region, which is on Eco. Take a bunch of pistols into the middle of the map and try and get a fight. Smoke towards top mid dissipates here. Trap wire left there by a Proto. And this time 1 in market. So TSM obviously reading here on a lower buy that 2G are not going to rush up onto B in the same fashion. They are, in fairness, much more meticulous this time around as Zap wants to let a fault line get set up.
Yeah, a bit slow from 2G as the drone gets some space. Here comes the wall spike because it's so deep. I mean, that speed with the Stinger is so obnoxious for Seven to try to deal with. TSM are trying to play around the cages. Oh, and Poise does so lovely with the movement. A Proto coming in as well, retaining that backside control.
Round still hangs in the balance. 2 up here for 2G. A Proto fights up more than he can do, and Silence is able to find 2. Sim backs up. Neural Theft here is going to pave the way for 2G. Now they know what the setup looks like, and they're probably not surprised by it at all. Sim pops that ultimate, immediately flattens Spikes, and he will salvage the round here for TSM. Looked like it could have been ugly, and an instant half buy for 2G to cap that economy of TSM.
That nicely dealt with by GMD and Sim at the end. They're just waiting for the perfect time for Guimont to send a Paranoia in, and it connected on site. Sim just sliding in. Ultimate pop, well done. Big credit to Poison and Proto as well. They are playing this B site nicely, just controlling the back area, not allowing that part of the map to be taken by 2G, excuse me. And it's giving them good positions to fight from, to anchor from.
2G now realizing maybe they can't push nearly as far into B. That deep trap wire is once again established by a Proto on that B side, but A, and towards middle where the eyes are for 2G. And that smoke top mid has provoked a stack of players here for TSM over towards Link. One that 2G may well encounter here as they make their way up A-Lock.
Oh my god, lovely shot from Sim.
Spikes, going to be able to trade it out, though. It's getting a little bit messy. Sim, though, more than happy to give as good as he gets. That's 3 for the Neon.
Spike.
He can fall off now. Off the perch as LZ removes him, but that's a positive trade for the defenders, and they're going for it again. Taking fights at these off timings at TSM, and it brings 2G to heal once more.
Sim just getting as aggressive as he ever does, Mitch. A player that causes me much anxiety with his style of play. It is the most variable extent of feast or famine with Sim.
Can Sim actually, with that playstyle though, can he be a consistent player? Is that reasonable to ask of him?
He can only be so consistent with a lot of the peaks that he takes, a lot of the re-peaks that he takes. And, you know, at times there's only so much that the teammates can do as well, as far as, you know, setting him up or being there to trade. But when he's on point, I mean, we've seen what he can do. We saw what he did in that game, you know, on day 1 against Galoris, where he drops 38 on Abyss. When he's on point, he is a monster in the server. but just a couple things go wrong with his play. A missed shot here or there can really begin to unravel things for TSM. But so far, it is pretty smooth sailing on their map pick.
So let's contrast this with yesterday quickly. Is it safe to say that TSM have been able to shrug off that malaise that affected them? You know, most of their players coming out and saying we just didn't play our fundamentals remotely properly.
Yeah, I mean, at least so far, right? It's going to be a good test of their fundamentals because we saw 2Game really exploit Rada. Their lack of, I mean, again, we're just kind of just throwing fundamentals out there every 3 seconds, but Rada's fundamentals, they're trading off each other, was not good. There was a lot of individual efforts that were just being destroyed by this 2Game death ball running around, trading every player out, picking them apart one by one. And if TSM kind of succumb to that same issue, it'll be trouble. But look at this overdrive from Spike. So deep on the split, a Proto very ready.
Maybe the timing for 2G wasn't quite there. They're a little bit slower coming out of big main, and it's just as well because Gimondi's there to gobble them up. It's a Blacklight flawless for TSM. And that's a round in which 2G get mid. They get up top mid with a Neon ultimate. It doesn't even get them close.
Now, 2G love trying to go for those kind of plays on Sunset, exploiting the speed of the Neon by going for, you know, these pinch hits on B where you can get all the way up top mid through Boba or, you know, double back or go through market super quick, right? And a Proto is just more than ready for that. Something that's pretty common out the 2G Sunset playbook. Absolutely eviscerated.
IB calls for a fault line here with those pings on the map. 2G going fast here into the side, but Spike's instantly going to be hit by a relay bolt. Sim also affected, so he backs up, and Arna's Fury now could be an issue. Spike's man, give him a second to breathe, a second to rest, and all of a sudden he'll be clambering all over you. He's in and around the site. And that'll be a one-way smoke over towards Spawn, but Gimon can still play that off angle. There is potential at least for him to swing. And he enters the side instead. He wants to fight. 2 up for TSM to work with now. It's looking dire as Spike drops 4 in the round. A Blacklight flawless this time for the attackers.
Yeah, and that is 2G redeeming their one free Valorant round win coupon when they all press Q at the same time. I mean, that is just the game sometimes. They had 3 players ready there at TSM, but it's a little tough to win out when the Neon's in your face as there's a Hunter's Fury and a Rolling Thunder launching you into the air. Little tough. So TSM kind of just getting rolled over by the Katamari ball, and there's not exactly anything they can do to stop it in that situation. We'll just go ahead into this one, content that that's many ultimates gone from 2G. And they are now the team with the advantage as far as the ult economy goes.
Yeah, TSM with many of those crucial ultimates that turned the tides for 2G in that previous round. They've got the Thrash as well to work with. It's a trade getting into market though. Rolling Thunder used in mid, nobody affected by it. TSM a little slow, but a Proto was able to stop 2G in their tracks regardless. LC was able to make his way to market though, and there's a spike that needs to be recovered here, and that's being waited on by Poise. The In7 standing now, the Thrash finds his mark, and silence ain't long for this world. Gonna be a TSM cleanup here, using many of their own ultimates to great effect.
Yeah, that Rolling Thunder just went a little bit too shallow. Tried to catch 2G before they could get into market, but they really increased the tempo once they got that trade kill. The anchoring from a Proto, his play on B has been really, really good. The way he's been working around his cages has been excellent. You can see that one was just blocking off the angle from B main so he could focus his attention market. You know, playing a bit closer that time on prior rounds, playing more setup backside, and all of it has worked pretty perfectly. Impressed so far.
Another fast hit though, this time. A slowdown as Spikes gets into elbow. A 3 stack for TSM though waiting for him. And they are moving up. Spikes though gets to find 2. TSM trade down with a 3v1. And 2G say, okay, we'll just head elsewhere. We can see now exactly where your chips have fallen. And that's probably just a Proto holding back on the B side. They're correct on that call as LZ goes to check it. Sees it's clear. Our drone's going to pave the way onto B.
Yeah, Proto popping that cage, causing a little bit of disarray for 2G as they try to get in off the Owl drone, denying a little information. And now this is a nice dark cover for him to be able to walk out, and it catches silence. That is a great smoke place there from GMD. And look at GMD now in the main as well. This timing is fantastic.
This is perfect. Dangerous here for 2G now. They've got to stack up at the back of the site. Not much future to work with. One flash available for Zap. And it's a 1v2 for the breach here. Info gained as Zap does see the player over towards Market, and there's going to be a link up here with Gimon. They're going to try and double face this, but Zap can turn it into a 1 versus 1. Gimon, though, the better player on the round, turns around, makes it 3, 13 and 5. A beautiful smoke to set up a proto, and then a deadly little wraparound.
This is a TSM that looks very laser focused. Very different from the one we saw against Sereda, a sloppier TSM. Really on point right now, despite Spikes, just the young ranked demon of 2G, doing, exactly his duty as the ranked demon of the team, just getting more kills than any single player should in situations like that. And it's still not enough. TSM able to retake so nicely from all those angles, using the utility to support each other on site in such a nice fashion.
These two players stacked in Market for TSM. They want to fight this, but Spikes hits them where it hurts straight away. Fast lane used there by Sim just to get out of dodge. As the smoke clears in mid, it's going to be a player advantage for 2G, but Sim has rotated over towards that B side instead. Also going to be a trade. Note the weaker weaponry here for 2G, but of course that Neon Ultimate, bolstering their firepower drastically. Gimon, though, has been the immovable object over the last couple of rounds, and he is staunchly making his way from the back of sight. Zap gets the better of him, though. It's going to be poised now. Another quick round. A lot of fighting here between these two. Poise is looking for a timing, an edge. Eventually Zap cuts him with it.
I mean, listen, you ram your whole team into the B site enough times. One of them you'll get through the wall. This was finally the one, and
this Spikes
it wasn't even a real buy. I mean, it was just Spikes with the overdrive running around. The Neon main himself. And that's how they get their 4th on the board. It hasn't, it hasn't been tactically stimulating from 2G.
Sure,
but
the academic Valorant watchers aren't exactly getting their daily dose. Yeah, sorry, guys.
The halls of Valorant intelligentsia are not being stimulated by this gameplay. But it is fun to watch, It's gotten them 4 on the board. That's not too bad. And if they get 5, pretty reasonable half, despite TSM, I think, really being the better team so far.
There's that Rolling Thunder coming in. It's a pretty loosely held site for TSM, though. They played for retake, knowing that breach ultimate would be a factor. But Zap's able to deal with poise. He tries to get ahead of the one-way and exposes himself. The Proto might go here. Sees that fast lane come up, but Sim gets in. Finds his one. Silence. We'll get a ping, and he's got the backup of Zap across the side. Oh, yeah, listen, I'm a simple guy. I'm getting all of that ballistic therapy that I asked for on day 1 right now.
That nice little, what was that, 5-6 minute first half of 12 rounds? I mean,
keep it moving.
Maybe 7 minutes, I'm not sure. That was just ramming our heads into the side. Like, they got 5 rounds. I can't be mad at it. I mean, it's just so simple. It's just all the speed of the Neon, all the effectiveness, the space clearing, that having multiple stuns from the relay build, the fault line, all of that. Just aggressive utility to dominate site control. And they just set up the crossfires and win it out. And TSM try to race their way back in. All right, simple as it gets. These 2G players, they certainly can shoot, though. When it comes to the mice and keyboards, Mitch, they know what they're doing. I'll tell you that.
There is, though, absolutely nil push and pull, pulling rotators, taking sort of mid-control. There are no trap plays.
Absolutely none. No. I mean, that was the playbook for that attack half was not. It was a
bloody club,
as it was a sheet. Maybe a restaurant. They wrote it down on a restaurant napkin, perhaps. It's only a few sentences, really, but it worked. I mean, to some extent, they get 5 rounds. Not mad at that.
Yeah, listen, I'm okay to read a children's ABC book every now and then. You know what I mean? That's fine. Whatever gets us through. TSM, though, look pretty tight, pretty well drilled. They are taking a lot of these fights. They are bound to be pretty volatile, especially when you've got Spike with Neon Ultimate coming up, both these teams clashing through mid. TSM showing that they are down to sort of, partake in these aggressive engagements. But what stuck out to me is their unwillingness to fully give up these sites. They don't want to play full retake. They do want to anchor. And a couple of their individuals have looked fantastic in that regard. Sim's been good, rotating off of those early contact moments through Market to help out a B. The Proto's been really hard to shift, and Gimon has been playing from a different angle every single round. That 4K to catch out 2G as they ran onto the B side. Not exactly subtle, not the most complex spot to stand, but my God, it was effective.
Yeah, TSM, they did have some great defensive protocols over on B as to where the utility was going to be placed, the positioning of the defenders would be. And now we'll see if 2G can replicate the same thing. TSM, I'm looking to see if we're going to go 100 miles an hour as well, maybe 90 miles an hour on their attack half, and if 2G can respond as effectively as TSM did when they were on defense.
There's your answer. Definitely some pace to it for TSM. Aftershock clears the close angle and Wingman goes to work. Seventh had a quieter first half, just hasn't needed to be involved in many of those early fights. And 2G are playing off the site, playing this retake. Sova breach for them, so definitely ways to get back in, but Sim preempts it. Zap just headbutts the bullet from the Ghost. Pricey and Silence want to try and challenge this too, but it's going to be a relay bolt. The challenge off of it is perfect for Sim. Oh, TSM are lying in wait in this post plant. That's clean.
That was on all accounts just clean from TSM. They picked apart every little attempt from 2G to set that retake up. I mean, Sim that's just a clean peek and a tap onto Zap straight away. The relay bolt perfectly placed. And look at the position at the bottom of the map. A Proto the entire time just knows that somebody will be flanking into B main, biding his time. Freest kill of his Valorant career. Because it is just so important for the defenders to be able to fight B main from multiple angles when the spike is planted, and Proto more than aware.
Oh, it's so nice! Relay bolt to follow it up. It's going to be a defensive fault line to slow Sim down, and it does work. Little crossfire set up here at the entrance, and Sim doesn't check his 6. Boys eventually able to bring him down, but that's too much value from 2G. Oh, it's a Sheriffs and Pistols in the kill feed. And it's Unk in the 1v2. Majestic moustache and all. Has to try to fight a way out of this. As the smoke clears, no weapons picked up though for 2G because all the players in positions to do so are involved in the fight. They did get traded out. Also 2 cyber cages to try and maneuver with here, but that paranoia is a little nasty. A Proto now down to 50. Trying to break it up, and LZ only needed 1 body shot with the Sheriff to get the job done, and 2G, dirty little thrifty.
And that is just TSM really rushing things. They got that first kill. They feel like they can try to follow up for more. I mean, that was actually their own fault line onto Sim. That was poised. Sim running into it accidentally. The Dizzy doesn't go far enough to clear the little left side pocket. I mean, Spike getting away with 2 kills with Classic in that position. Tragic for TSM, who yesterday against Rada won multiple pistol rounds where they got ecoed immediately after. Twice that happened on Icebox. They cannot succumb to that same egregious fate here against 2G.
See here. Oh, that's clean. Sim really wanted to try and take that challenge. And he's going to be able to fall off of it now and play back in spawn. It's a lightly held A site. So the fact that LZ's been able to generate something early in this round and buy time for those rotators is huge.
Look at the map right now with 2G, by the way. Spikes and Prices pushed all the way down behind into A main. I mean, if this thing wasn't already a wrap for TSM, it absolutely is now. This retake is going to be hitting them from 3 different angles. But I like TSM. They're trying to fight forward, and it works. LZ down to even things up.
Pricey, though, able to hold his ground here in elbow. That's where 2G can play from now. They're coming from a couple of different directions. With 7 falling, it's getting a little dicey now. It's just Gimon left on the site. Able to find 1. Fault line was misplaced. They didn't know where Gimon was playing with. He's been able to find 4. Pricey shuts him down, but that was looking awfully dangerous.
How the hell did he do that? Where did those kills even come from? How did that even happen?
I don't really know where Gimon is, I guess, based on where that fault line gets thrown. It looked like that was headed over towards short, and he's able to, in those couple of seconds, capitalize on that quasi-fog of war. We'll see it here in the replay in just a second.
Player standing.
Yeah, just circling around the box, tapping players down, a nice headshot scoped in, feeling the frustration of losing that, but at the very least, a lot of damage done. GMD has just been on a tear. Clearly the best player right now in the server on Sunset. A really dominant force. And listen, another little aspect of that round, though, is that, 2G instilling the fear of God on the flank to TSM. Immediately, we're 2 rounds in, and they had the Neon Sova pushing behind them while they were on eco. I mean, just that is very little fear from 2G. TSM going to have to be worried about that.
yeah! Monster on the loose!
2G unsure about whether TSM would stack mid there. They check it with 2 players. So it'll be a loosely held A again. Looking to play for that retake. Last time almost went horribly wrong. Dimon had something to say about it. Boys finds one up top mid and now is heading actually over towards Tile, so he'll be in the backup here. It's just Link presence left for 2G. And we know they love to fight. We know they love to get involved here, but this has gone horribly wrong for them. TSM look like they are in a position now to get out to that 2-round lead. And Silence has got to fall off of it.
Yeah, might as well just save. They'll have a full buy for the next. That was just a complete crumbling from 2G, honestly. It seemed like different players had different ideas as to what they wanted to do there. And Poised really just threw a spanner in the works there with that presence up mid after sending the util towards A from Tiles, trying to cut off the rotates, did cut them off, got his pick. And then, Spike, it looked like he wanted to go. Zap was trying to support him, but no one was really with him. It was just, all those timings were off. The team got so scrambled. Lots of disarray caused by TSM that they take full advantage of.
It really weakened that Link position because the 2 players at Link all of a sudden were looking towards top mid like, are we about to get pinched on here? So just the threat of that was enough to cause them to utterly capitulate on this spot. See Silence there being forced to back out. 2G looked like they were able to potentially link a few rounds together, get stopped in their tracks once more by TSM, and that round differential remains at 2 here. Similar to Neum ultimate available, so maybe a fast hit here with that.
Yeah, it looks like it might just be a fast 4-1 hit with a late flank coming in from a Proto, either top mid through market pressuring there. Very important round if you look at the state of the economy. This is an opportunity for TSM to get very close to closing this game out. If they beat 2G here, they'll have virtually nothing left in the bank.
No over here for TSM, so clearing that trap wire is less simple. Can't simply send a shock over. So they're a little more methodical in how they're working towards B. LZ playing off the one-way over the A side, just keeping a Proto busy, both of them there. Locked in a staring competition. And now TSM are trending over towards mid. They've had that cam set up there. Spikes, though, does not want to give this up for free. He's definitely wary of what a Neon can do if Sim's able to run it up the guts.
Yeah, repositioning now for this A hit. Proto's just been containing on this side. Disc stun. A lot of pressure coming in from Sim, but forced back due to that counter utility. Time is dwindling pretty low right now. A slower round from TSM. 30 seconds on the clock.
Left.
As GMD is applying some pressure towards the B site, ready to teleport over to his teams on A. 22 seconds now.
Here they go.
They're going to have to deal with LZ. Going to have to deal with Zap.
He's down the corner. All right, Sim able to turn that into a trade. That's what Neon can offer you sometimes. Make space. Trade your own life. It's fine.
10 seconds left.
Plant now going down. Of course, those rotators are a little bit slow because top mid is not being held by 2G. They can't simply run across. They're going to have to take their time in getting set up here.
Slowing down a bit, GMD getting that smoke cycled, placing that towards the spawn side to allow his teammates from elbow to fight.
Dimon here, able to play up against Link, but Zap is going to get the better of him here. He joins the site now, knowing the rest of the players are going to be stacked up here in elbow. It's back and forth. Silence is going to be brought down though, and Zap tries to give it a tickle. The mosh pit doesn't connect. Seven has to convert this. He's let it go. And Zap finds 3 and the Zippo clutch for 2G.
Absolute disaster for TSM, feeling like they have to fight that when the molly bounces off the container. That is so tough.
They give it to him one at a time as well. That's the worst part. They're not in a position to double swing that. And that's a little note from yesterday. Zap is extremely vocal.
He really is. He really is. Listen, you love to see it. I like to see someone exuding the passion, getting fired up like that. TSM now put in a tough position. They've forced into this. Sim with just a stinger, but that's fine. He's got the overdrive available. And we know how powerful that ultimate can be with the current state of Neon just running so fast any direction, anytime. TSM ready to pop out of this smoke off the Dizzy.
Bolt line is pretty good, or rather the fast lane's going to break up any action over from the Link side of the map, so TSM do get a player up mid. It's only a 1-for-1 again for Sim. Silence here knows there's some action on the side. A rolling thunder used over towards mid here, but Proto's able to hold his ground. He deals with spikes. He's going to be a problem. A thorn in the side inside market. How do they get rid of this Cypher? And that makes it pretty impossible for Zap to get over to the site. 2G absolutely crumble here. This is a force-up for TSM. Not that it looks like it now.
Zap just on the retreat. I really like that call from Poise. These past 2 rounds, I really like how he's called them. I mean, they lost the last one to a very unfortunate clutch situation, but I did like the round overall from them, the macro. And here, just a cool little play, pressuring, making it look like they're really going to explode into top mid, but no, it was just to send Sim there, create some major presence on that part of the map with an instant pivot back to market, coming in with a player through B main as well. Just dragging the 2G attention away from the site. That was really nicely done. Love that play. Love that call from Poised.
And I'm pretty sure a Proto got hit with that rolling thunder. Maybe just the edge of it there in mid. And he actually has to take like a 2-player challenge at some point and is able to find one and fall off and still hold market. That is so massive. So yeah, TSM don't fully get up mid. They don't fully wrap on Boba, but they have the site entirely encircled there. Great little adaptation all around where their economy is just a little bit tighter. And I mean, there's only been a couple of slips fundamentally for TSM over the course of this series, right? Outside of that, it's been a lot of banging heads against wall, but this team looks much improved from yesterday. If you see Faded in the venue, get him a coffee because he's probably had a long night getting the boys ready for this.
This boy, I don't think he's slept in days, if we're being honest. The TSM coach is just, he's got way too much work to do. He needs a break.
Just one round after Zap is getting up and yelling, getting in their faces.
The hard work is paying off, though. TSM are looking pretty solid so far today. Impressed with them on their pick here, Sunset. No doubt. Impressed with Poise. He said coming into this tournament, he feels like he's calling the best tactical game that he's called in his entire career, and he's been playing since the beginning of VALORANT as a pro in North America. So that's a lot of confidence from him. He's been on some very good teams in the past. And I've liked some of the calling he's had so far today on Sunset. TSM are looking pretty good.
Right there.
Talking a bit about TSM here, but 2G have done very well in this game to stay in step on this defensive side.
I mean, listen, I thought that clutch was going to be the massive boost of energy into them, the momentum that could carry them to the win. Honestly, a lot of times a round like that will be just that, but it was immediately evaporated by that very cool set hit onto B from TSM.
And that's put 2G now on a save and released on a buy of 1 Vandal into the round. Zap had to opt out of the fight entirely in the previous engagement. It's going to be a site that's held more loosely here by 2G. Trapwire over towards Elbow. So it's really going to be about this setup here. I think 2G are looking for a timing to find a pop. And okay, they do get their Neon into B lobby. Instantly pull them out, those. TSM may not have been spotted at all there.
Yeah, they're playing a bit slowly, just taking their time, waiting out any aggression. And there really hasn't been a whole lot in the way of major defensive aggression from 2G, honestly.
Another slower round for TSM. It worked out really well last time, though, as if you remember, Gimon kept 2 players at B and then TP'd out. They overran that A site. So this exploration here up towards Elbow for TSM might precipitate a faster hit. Or maybe even pull that Sova of Pricey away from B, soften it up a bit.
30 seconds left.
This camera angle is offering a lot of good information for the A setup. One-way smoke even went down towards that side. Mavdiv's paranoia is fantastic. The Hunter's Fury as well. Big commitment from 2G, but it pays off. Prize lovely there with only 12 seconds on the clock.
Seven's got friends, though. He can make his way in here. LZ trying to get ahead of it and actually gets brought down. It's going to be a plant, of course, care of Wingman. So this one is still on, folks. 3 up for both sides. 2G with only the 1 rifle to work with. Bear that in mind. They've definitely drawn blood in this round, but there's some work still to do. Market presence at least here for Zap. He can make his way through, but that's going to be spotted out by Sim. He gets ahead of the shock dart. Fault line also thrown out. Aftershock to make it a harder push out of Boba, and Sim is waiting for it. Takes a big hit down to 24. It doesn't look like that Thrash found its mark. Zap is still able to get up and fight here, and TSM have fallen back into post-plant spots.
Oh my god, the thing on the boys.
Yeah, eventually Zap goes down. I mean, he was like 5 HP after that engagement, but a huge dink. Still a TSM round, but that one could have gone either way, Wyatt.
I know, look at this play. I mean, love that trap attempt from 2G. That was very cool. Just suddenly, as TSM are working into B main with little to no time on the clock, paranoia into the Hunter's Fury, the slide with the Frenzy, that was just a hair away from resulting in a significant advantage for 2G. If that Hunter's Fury, I think, was just like a pixel to the right, it would have gotten 2 kills, not just the one. That wasn't even 2G's buy. Now they're fully bought up. And crucially, though, in that round as well, Poised has got his ult up and now used it. Gone. Seven's ult, the Thrash, gone. So the playing field very even as far as the ult economy. It could have been one-sided against 2G, but that's not the case.
TSM still lack the mechanism just to bust through this trapwire instantly and hit the site. So they still have to be pretty slow about it. That off angle is going to be cleared there by the aftershock. Silence actually can't get onto the wingman, but well, he gets 7 for his troubles. He could be happy enough with that. Still, that's going to have to spike down, and TSM are now fully committed to play here. And what a rotation for Silence. Heads right around the pillar, sees the edge of Sim and picks him up. It's up to Poising him on here to try and save this, and the ladder is 11 HP. Into the smoke goes Silence, and that is a rapid cleanup for 2G. Another Blacklight Flawless on the board as the defenders reset themselves.
I mean, they're just ruined by the Cypher setup there. They don't deal with the trip that's placed close, which is not good. That is the most standard tripwire for B main. It's a simple thing that has a massive impact for 2G's ability to hold that, to flood back in.
Is there like a simple way for TSM to clear that fast?
I mean, yeah, an aftershock.
Yeah.
But it unfortunately results in their demise. You know, not only do they get that kill, but 2G are just able to get in so quickly, backside to fight together. Still, though, the economy has been good enough for TSM that they get a full buy here. This will be their last full buy, though, if they lose this round. And that could spell an 11-11 scoreline. This is an opportunity for 2G to effectively tie up the game if they can win this round.
TSM playing for pushes here entirely. Expecting push out of mid, maybe one from B, lobby. None of that, though, here for 2G. And again, they've not really offered up anything early in the round. This is the half of Sunset where we get a little bit more of that macro-oriented play. Clock getting burnt down a lot more. TSM going on these little explorations like this one. Straight up mid. Okay. Well, that's the pressure over at B now neutralized. Kimon not able to win that one out. There was going to be an issue there with that Owl drone in play. Cypher cam cleared up mid, and now TSM going to make a little bit more noise. Bang in the door to market. Pricey will answer. Still no full commitment from him either.
TSM are getting very active, pressuring a lot of different parts of the map. Poised might be facing down a couple players. Sim collects onto one. Poised is trying to do more, but from all angles, 2G collapse top mid market. Crossfire set up, and the timing's perfect for the little jiggle peaks, the swings there to help each other out. Just collapsing onto TSM.
Is that too late? Are they taking too long in mid there? Because it feels like a matter of time before those A-side players get brought over to see what's happening up mid.
Yeah, and it's going to be so tough for them as well. After GMD is the first one down, they don't have any of the smokes. They're going to be exposed to all of the potential angles in mid. It's exactly what does end up occurring.
We have a attack pause here.
Yeah, that's Coach Faded, the most stressed man in Monterrey, calling the tack pause for TSM. They'll be able to get, you know, some of those weak secondary weapons and still be able to afford the full buy for the next round. But this is the chance for 2Game to tie up the game right here.
And 2Game looking pretty well rounded. They're not bothered about TSM slowing things down, going for some of these noise cuts in the sort of mid round. Pricey there, a player who sat in market. He knew that TSM were mostly lingering out there in top mid. And he's still able to find a timing, an opportunity to swing simultaneously with those players top mid as soon as they come. So that's the reality of things. TSM put themselves on a timer when they want to play slow like this. And I'm not talking about the round timer. Eventually, 2Game are going to come sniffing. And they'll be set up to punish them here from an angle that they don't have covered. Clearly no smoke left for top mid. Gimon had already used those earlier in the round. They cleared that Cypher cam too, which is always going to get 2G's ears perked up and have someone coming over to check.
Very fast effort. TSM Sim immediately clearing out some of those trip wires. Rest of the team forced back though. Thrash needs to be dealt with.
Spikes got taken down. 2 players able to face that, but Silence isn't ready for the numbers rush of TSM in towards Elbow. This one looks absolutely brutal for 2G. For a moment, Sim looked isolated there as Elbow is still a factor. But that is beautiful fundamentals from TSM, trading into that position well. And Spikes is waiting for someone to push out. But TSM are not incentivized to do so. Thrash 2.0 gets brought down once more. And Zap will cross there in spawn, but TSM have seen all of this. I know Spikes is going to be coming for
come on,
puts them in the microwave. He melts them. 4 down to Spikes. That is absolutely putrid.
Poor TSM faded. He gets out of the timeout with a great call. It should have worked, Mitch. And Zap is back on his feet, talking as much trash as he can before his esophagus gives out, man. But, I mean, it's just so tragic for TSM. That was such a good call out of the timeout. And it's just Spike, the young gun from 2G. This man's first legit team. He's played before this tournament 34 matches of competitive Valorant, and like 20 of them were with 2G this year. It's just a ranked god player, and he's decimated guys from North America that have been competing in challengers on other pro teams for 4 years straight. What a round, man.
I tell you why Zap was on his feet there. Those first 3 players, full blind as well. The setup for the flood retake for 2G was chef's kiss, man. It was absolutely filthy. I'm still reeling from that. TSM get access to A here, but that's because 2G have allowed them to walk through the front door. Obviously a trap wire. And TSM know, regardless of whether this gets set up or not, that there's definitely going to be pressure from this area. There are so many. Oh, Proto. Yep, they're never ready for the second one, folks.
And now it's going to be tough for Prize. He's the only one there. He's got to find a timing. The other players on 2G need to make a lot of noise, create space, create an opportunity for Prize to capitalize, but he can't. GMD and a Proto, the duo, they take him down.
Zap now, solo, with an operator having to work with, up against 4. It's just too much to ask, and TSM recover from that previous round. And they do it in style, might I add. An important round with their economy hanging in the balance and the opportunity to look to close the map at their fingertips, and they convert.
I gotta say, throughout this tournament so far, you know, a Proto, it's not like he's putting up an insane stat line in these games. He's just dropping bombs. But man, is he having a lot of impact on his role. He's been playing so intelligently as far as the utility goes, whether it be the Cypher right now, especially when he's playing that deadlock over on Bind, where TSM have found their dominance, winning it 2 times decisively so far. He really has been standout to me, despite, you know, maybe if you just look at the stat sheet, kind of an afterthought, right? But the impact he's having is pretty outsized.
I actually, outside of Gimon, he might be, for me, one of the most impactful players in this server, Wyatt. I know that's saying a lot for, you know, only 12 frags here, but the way he controlled that B side in that first half, it's a big reason why TSM exit the defense half with that 2-round lead. He's always in an awkward spot. They're never ready for him. He's played this game absolutely beautifully. Now a bit of a tech pause here. Well, look, it's our first of the day, so
we made it pretty far.
We got through 23 rounds before a 23 rounds.
That's not bad. That's not bad. The only thing I would love to not see right now is 7 giving the thumbs up and then we stay in the tech pause. Because last time it was the tech pause with TSM, the way they were baiting me. Okay, no, we're good to go. Love to see that.
We're back into the game. A very quick one here. That's been resolved. And so, match point, brother, for TSM.
And a big opportunity to close this out. Got a couple ultimates to work with. Not the most impactful. I mean, listen, from what we've seen with the overdrive, might be the most impactful ult in the game. See, he's taking contact, just immediately shut down on his lonesome, going for a stroll.
Zap though. Ooh, this is dangerous. He steps into the relay bolt. He knows what's going to happen. He's maybe hoping for 1 or 2 before it dissipates, but he was committed. Sim now 27 and 18. Great setup here. And once again, we're in a position where 2G have to rotate into this 5-player setup for TSM.
And what can 2G realistically do at this point? How can they get back in? The Proto is set up nicely for the backstab here.
There it is, Number Dizzy to set them up. They're playing off this util so well. 7 impact player, and there it is. Sim shows a bit of his own finger work towards the end of the round. TSM close out a hard-fought sunset. The first half is It's a slugfest. They are just running at each other. They are just trying to see who's got the bigger biceps. But in that second half, TSM were forced to slow it down just based on comps. But they were able to go up again when it mattered. Those last couple of rounds, very convincing.
Yeah, very hard fought, but I really felt throughout that as far as the overall team, the macro, TSM were more impressive for me on both sides, despite the scoreline by a fair margin, honestly. Definitely want to give them some credit to Poise and Faded with the timeouts on the attack half to get some great rounds in that resulted in round wins. And despite losing a clutch, they were able to still close that out as well. That 2v1 that they ended up kind of throwing against Zap as well. So, mistakes made, but a great recovery, great macro play from them on their map pick.
Yeah, love to see that stuff from TSM. Obviously, NA's number 2 seed. Looking pretty good here in this matchup after having to play the last couple of days straight as well. It's been a long road for them, but it seems to have galvanized them. Stick around, folks. We've got another map or more in this series still to come, so don't go too far.